lost it. If you just lay it down on the table, it doesn't collect the sound well. The upright. And so
you MacGyvered it.
sort of. Look at this. This is pretty scary.
Oh.
Fits right there.
You. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Doing great.
You? Oh, just peachy.
Are you ready for today?
I'm ready to do it.
You're ready. Why not? It's just perfect.
Look at you. You're so proud of yourself.
I am so proud. We lost our little business card business card holder that we used to prop this in. And if you lay it just down on the desk like this, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't pick up
So
sound.
do you sync the audio, or like, are you not recording from Zoom, or?
Fits perfectly in this little gap back here. We do record on Zoom, but we always have a backup. One of the things that happens on Zoom is sometimes microphones are keyed
Oh.
and the sound doesn't go out. So, perfect. This wouldn't be as much fun as if I was an engineer.
Oh, there we go. Nice. So we have a quorum this time.
No, I don't know if we have a quorum.
No, Gary Ledbetter just joined, so.
Gary. Enough is enough. You're worse than an egg.
What do you?
Jesus.
No, I was saying we have a quorum because Gary Ledbetter
Well,
joined.
when did he join? Yeah. All right. We ready, Rochelle? We are. Okay, Three Rivers Levee Improvement Authority, July 20th, 2021, 2:30 p.m. Actually, it's 2:30. Yeah, it is 2:30. Hybrid meeting in person via Zoom. All right. Do we have to read any of this as far as the meeting, Zoom meeting, Rochelle? Okay. All right. Roll call.
Director Atwell, absent. Director Bradford,
Here.
Director Brown, absent. Director Ledbetter. Director Ledbetter. Pardon me.
Well, his name's up there. Mr. Ledbetter.
Gary, can you text me?
He's connecting.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Gary, you there?
Now he's muted though, it looks like.
He's muted. Is he muted?
Yes, he was muted. Director Ledbetter?
Here.
Director Vasquez?
Earth to Gary. Earth to Gary.
Find the unmute.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, public communications, we'll let you go with that one.
And for the record, Subdeep Atwell just joined the meeting. Director Atwell,
Sorry.
can you hear me?
You're looking for the,
Yes, I can.
Okay, so public communications. Any person may speak about any subject of concern within the jurisdiction of TRLIA, which is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the secretary. I do not have any requests to speak cards.
We have no requests for public communications. Do we have any public wishing to speak in the audience now? Okay. Move to item 3, consent items.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion. I need a second. Audience, wake up. Gary?
Gary Ledbetter, second.
Okay, Gary, thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Director Atwell,
Yes.
Director Bradford,
Yes.
Director Brown absent, Director Ledbetter,
Yes.
Director Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4. Is that a time since, well, we're past 2:30, okay. Final budget hearing fiscal year 2021 to 2022. First one, Executive Director present overview and recommendations for fiscal year 2021 final budget.
Okay. We are reviewing the final budget for TRLIA for the 2021-22 year. This is carrying on from what we took place on June 15th, when I presented the proposed budget for the board. At the time at the June 15th meeting, the board directed these 3 things to occur. One was that the board did accept the budget that was proposed, and we've been using that to go forward so far. You directed me to make copies available to the public. The budget was made available at the clerk office and posted on the TRLIA website. So we accomplished that, and then we were also directed to have this budget hearing today at 2:30. We accomplished that, and we're here today. So this recap that I'm going to go through, I'll just say between June 15th and now, we really have received no comments on our budget. So not much has changed. And for the sake of time and just working through that, I'll just really give a very brief recap for you. And I'd be glad to entertain questions from the board, but we do have emphasis. 21-22 is going to be an active time. Closing out various items. We're going to be working on closing out of the Prop 1E, EIP and UFR agreements with the state, getting reimbursements from them. So it'll be very active. We also have an emphasis on the ULDC for 200-year criteria certifications, and also the FEMA 100-year certification. You'll hear more about that in the coming meetings in the future. We continue to work on the state Fezro Bank, Conservation Bank in the feather setback area. We work on the Hallwood Flood Risk Reduction Program. That's the area out by the gold fields, just north on the north side of the Yuba River that we have funding to do, and we're pursuing flood risk reduction projects there. Then we have our property management, and then the final bullet there is the transition of TRLIA to the next chapter. That's our code for I'm retiring, and we're moving on to a new position and director for Three Rivers. And the decision on that point is to transition early next year, January 1, to the new executive director for Three Rivers, being the county CAO, Kevin Mallon, on that. So we're in the process of making that happen. Okay, the budget, as I reported last time, is fully funded for this coming year. It does include this $2 million retention loan from YWA to help for cash flow until we get back retention from all the projects that we're closing out. Ultimately, you'll see in the 22-23 budget, that's the second year that's in the budget, we do end up paying that off and very netting out to be net zero essentially on the budget. And then our other revenue sources are from the ag leases that we have in the further setback area. And also we do get some money coming in from the benefit assessment district that the RD just passed to replace the TRLIA assessment on it. We also have quite a few FESRO, the Conservation Bank revenues coming in. That's all predicated around Prop 1E timeline. Prop 1E is the funds that we built a lot of our projects on. Those funds go away, and the dates that you see in red are critical to the state because then the money just vanishes for them. So we're pushing hard to get all the money from our agreements that I mentioned earlier to recoup the money, get the projects closed out and move on. Okay, this is the outline in the budget that you see. We do have a red line version in the staff report that we sent you. Seth Wurtzell, who's in the audience today, works with me on that. Adrian McConaughey and also Leslie Wells helped prepare the budget this time as we went forward too, that you see. But it's broken out by page numbers that if you want to flip to the budget, you'll see these items. Overall, it's we have expenses and revenues that are coming in. We plan to end this year with a net balance of money. And then you'll see for the 22-23 projected budget the following year, we end up with maybe a couple $100,000 after we pay off the retention loan. So as we move forward after this, TRLIA, unless we find other funding grants from the state, we'll have some revenues coming in from the items that we appointed before. But many of our projects, just like Hallwood, will most likely be funded through some vehicle like YWA that generate the funds to move forward at the board's discretion. And with that, I'll take questions and ask if for the board to approve the budget.
Any questions, from the board? Any questions from the Zoom board members? Sarb? Gary?
No, I'm fine.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, there being no questions, I guess we need to close the hearing. Did I open the hearing? I don't think I opened the hearing, did I? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Any comment from the public? Any comment from the public on the Zoom meeting? No public comment. We'll close the public hearing. And we're going to, I guess we're going to, we'll close the public hearing and we'll go to item 5 at that point in time. Is that correct?
So I'll move to approve the executive director's proposed final budget for fiscal year 21-22.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second, roll call.
Director Atwell,
Yes.
Director Bradford,
Yes.
Director Brown absent, Director Ledbetter,
Yes.
Director Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
passed.
All right. Item 5. Adopt a resolution authorizing issuance of special tax refunding bonds for CDFs 2006-1 and 2006-2 and approve related documents in action.
Slide deck.
I'm not finding your file.
Share screen first.
Which one is it?
That
Is
one.
it this one?
Fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Got my reading glasses. That'd be great. Okay, we ready to go?
We're ready to go. It's your show.
This one?
Okay. All right, I can just click it. Okay, let me see if I can click the right button here. Here we go. Good. Okay. No.
Perfect.
Oh,
There.
all these things I keep learning about Zoom. Okay. All right, sooner or later I'll get caught up with my granddaughter. All right. Okay, let's go back to where we were and press the right button. There we go. Excellent. Okay, we're all set. Thank you, board. We are asking the board to approve a major bond issue to redo Plymouth Lake and accomplish the goals that the TRLIA board, the Water Agency board, the county board have established, and we think we can do that. So, God willing, we're a month away from selling bonds, and this presentation is to just kind of give you the overview of where we are, what results we're hoping for. And we're here to answer questions. I believe Paul Timmick, our bond lawyer, is on the Zoom call. And I can't tell from where I am. But between
He's on. He's
and here's
on.
John. Hi, Paul. Good. And between Seth and Paul and myself, we should be able to answer questions. So we are selling conventional bonds. That's the proposal. That's the name under the legal document for the bond issue that we would issue to take out the builder bonds. We estimate that the tax rates on homeowners on all participating tax zones will decline over time from where they currently are. The tax rate decline, as we've discussed before, varies considerably from one tax zone in the two CFDs to another. It's between 15 and 70%, depending where you are. And as we discussed with Gary and Andy and others before, we know we've got some wood to chop in getting electeds and staff ready to answer questions from homeowners because of all the variations in there. So we'll talk about that as well. The biggest challenge we believe for the community engagement side is that the actual rate of decline depends on how fast each tax zone develops. And that varies from one tax zone to another. Bottom line is some homeowners may not see a tax rate decline for 2 to 4 years, okay? Then it may be very significant. We'll show you graphs on that. Others may see one right away. And that variation is not something we can really control. It's because of each tax zone, 10 tax zones, is so unique. The builder bond owners are also at the table and they have skin in the game. They're going to receive from 45 to 90% of their combined builder bond value and unpaid levy impact fees. So everyone's contributing something to this. Again, that varies significantly from one tax zone to the other because of things having to do with how each tax zone developed, how much money the developers are getting on their builder bonds. We want to note that the county board took final action to reduce the unpaid levy impact fees significantly by 52%. Seth was in the middle of that, did all the heavy lift on that. In the next study, he can answer questions on that. So board, please interrupt with questions. And this is before I go to the next slide. Okay, hearing none. Next steps to a successful bond sale. All developers needed to execute a tender agreement whereby TRLIA gets their builder bonds. Seth has got a stack of documents over there. Guess what? They all did. Well, yesterday we got the last one in. So your finance team is relieved, okay? Really relieved. So we feel good about that. We do have a second trip back to the board. We're approving the core legal documents. You're approving Paul executing the tender agent agreements, but we have one more document we need to come back for. That's at your August 3rd meeting. That's what we call the preliminary official statement. That discloses the risks to potential bond investors. Okay, that document is under preparation now. We'll be back on the 3rd for that. But again, by approving the bond documents today, you're really putting concrete on this. You're saying going forward, and you're also authorizing the execution of those all-important deals, tender agent agreements between TRLIA and the owners of the builder bonds. The bond sale is scheduled for Thursday, August 12th. At that time, we'll know the interest rates on the bonds, and Seth will be very busy and his colleagues calculating the actual tax rates that are going to be the homeowners in Plymouth Lake will see. Okay, so that's a very big day. Big numbers come out. And I'm knocking on wood here. Wish us luck. The bond market is making this look good right now. We'd have no control over that. So right now we are lucky. I hope it continues, God willing. The bond closing is at the end of August, August 25th. At that point in time, we will have the tax, Seth will be submitting the tax roll information to the county. And we are working with Bonnie Dixon at the Water Agency and Rochelle over at TRLIA, I'm getting the names right, to come up with the package that staff and electeds need to answer questions from homeowners. Because as we talked about, 2 CFDs, 10 tax zones, 26 separate tax rates in Plymouth Lake. You aren't, the homeowner's not going to, when they call you, is not going to tell you which tax zone they're in, let alone which tax rate they have. We need to go from an address to what they're actually saying. So we get that. So that is the story on the schedule. We've talked about this next slide before. How do we compare with the goals established by the ad hoc committee? And the Water Agency had an ad hoc committee. Number one, in no particular order, get Plymouth Lake to develop, lower the tax rates in homeowners. That was sort of the equal priorities. I drove up 70 getting here this morning, and yeah, we're getting Plymouth Lake to develop. There's a lot going on there. Thank God. So it's happening. So lowering the impact fees and lowering the tax rates in future development is incentivizing development. It's happening. Again, the good news for homeowners, we're going to show you the graphs, some very significant declines in their tax rates. The bad news is, and the thing to explain, doesn't all happen at once. So we have to work through that with it. Okay, this slide, your entire finance team, particularly Paul's, worked very hard on. Wanted to show you what, these are all the developers who are in play, who cooperated, who signed tender agent agreements. Every single one of them was executed. I didn't know we were going to get there today on that, but we did. So I am very grateful. And just to go down the list, you've got 2, national companies that are trade on stock exchanges, KB and Lennar are playing. You've got 2 major regional home builders, Cressley and Legacy, who are there. And you've got your local people. We have them under the name of Dave Lanza, but it's Dave Lanza, Pat Laughlin, and Randy Kagura. They're at the table too. So, and then Latimer and Lawhon are people who are no longer developing because their areas are all built out. And they just have the builder bonds, and they decide to come in and be part of our team as well. So we're grateful for that. So we're going to show you a bunch of graphs. We want to talk about what's going on underneath the graphs. This is a very high level discussion of the legals, very high level. Paul's a person who can take you into more depth on that. As I mentioned, we've got 10 tax zones. Each tax zone functionally, practically is like its own CFD. So this is a very complex financial transaction. You might think about it as that even though we have 2 Mello-Roos districts, there are 10 separate legal entities that each have their own unique characteristics that we got to work with and get things right for. The tax rates are calculated separately for each final map recorded within each tax zone, which is how we go from 2 CFDs to 10 tax zones to 26, count them, 26 separate tax rates. The other complication, which was a really good public policy thing to do, there is a requirement in the legal documents that every time a final map is recorded, that Seth has to go through the exercise of calculating that the total combined tax rate on those future homes, that includes the ad valorem, school general obligation bonds, the Reclamation District 784 assessment for maintenance, all of that, all those things, all get added together, and the combined tax rate should be not exceed 1.8% of the projected market value for those homes. And TRLIA has gone through that exercise for every single final map. It's going through it for the other final maps. The good news is that, you know, bad things can happen elsewhere in the state. We don't have features like that. You end up with combined tax rates being really staggering in some places. Not here, not here. Because we have that feature. The downside is we got 26 different tax rates to manage and take care of. So a little more admin costs on our side of the table. Selling the bond issue. There is another independent third party at the table here. It's called the municipal bond market. And that market marches to its own drummer. We don't control it. And what it's been telling us is that in Yuba County, investors are quite willing to take risk on developed homes and what I'll call entitled property, ready to go vertical, ready to build homes, which means final map lots. The investors are not quite ready to take that kind of risk on lower level entitlements, raw land or land that only has a tentative map on it as opposed to a final map. And what's different in the core Sacramento area, you know, talk Rockland, Roseville, Rancho Cordova, Folsom, they'll take that risk. Yuba County, not yet. So we had to make some adjustments in how we dealt with the bond issue, how we dealt with the owners of the builder bonds to accommodate that bond market constraint coming in saying, this is what we're willing to do. What we ended up doing was creating a subordinate series of bonds in a few tax zones that are secured in effect by the taxes that would be on the raw land, the undeveloped property that doesn't have final maps on it. And we managed to work it out with the owners of the builder bonds in those areas where they would take those subordinate bonds, and those subordinate bonds will convert to senior bonds once they record some more final maps. That is a very long story reflected in the legals, made simple, but that was the change. That was one of the main reasons we were really glad to see all those executed tender agent agreements show up, because it meant everybody bought in to the fact the bond market was saying we can't sell all the bonds we want to sell on your property because you are not ready to come out of the ground on all of your property yet. So we worked through that one. If you have questions on that, we've got the full team here to answer them and talk in some depth on it.
So through the chair, so I do have a quick question on that. So even the currently undeveloped areas are participating in this. And so as those areas develop, there's no additional work that'll need to happen.
No.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the only builder bond owner who is not at the table, and we talked about this before, is Axel Carlsroy. And Axel was fully informed. We talked about this. Axel is not really ready to come out of the ground on Dana 70 and his area in the CFDs. And that was a good decision. If you aren't really ready to come out of the ground at all, this doesn't really make sense to do this. The door is open for Axel. Changes his mind, the market keeps going, he comes back in. Hopefully we'll be back here in front of you saying, hey, we're ready to do a separate bond issue for Axel to get rid of his builder bonds. So again, the door is open and full communication, you know, on both sides of the table as to what is going on there. Slide we've been through before, but again, we want to make sure we understand this. Potential blind sides for staff and electeds. We don't want anybody here to be blindsided by homeowners coming to the podium and saying, what did you do to me? So again, the homeowner tax rates will not go down for 2 to 4 years in most tax zones. It depends on the rate of development. Rate of development right now looks really strong. Hopefully it continues that way. Another one, the tax rates per homeowner will continue to vary significantly from one former final mapped area to another. So we're going to show you numbers that say in a particular tax zone, the tax rates are going to go down by 25%. Great, that's true. Everybody's tax rates will be down by 25%. That doesn't mean that literally there are people living across the street from each other. One house pays $400 a year, their house pays $1,000 a year. And yes, the $1,000 a year one is going to go down by 25% to $750, and the $400 a year will go down by 25% to $300. But that big difference is still going to be there. We can't do anything about that. That's just was built into the legal documents, the way it worked. And so that'll be something else that people, well, I thought you're going to reduce everyone's tax rates. How come I'm still paying so much more than my neighbor? Well, we could reduce them, but we couldn't equalize them. We are subject to the whims of the bond market. If interest rates go up, that means there's less benefit. If interest rates go down, there's more benefit. Right now, I feel we're lucky. That's all I can say. We're very lucky because the bond market is better than what we assumed it would be when we made promises and we've given indications, and for these graphs that we're showing as well. We got a month to go, team. So wish us luck. Think positive because we don't have control over this. We are working, as I mentioned, with staff to come up with the material you need and staff needs to take an address given by a homeowner and give them the answers they need. And Seth, be working with your staff to do that. We'll be involved as well, but more peripherally on that one.
Through the chair, is that anticipated like late August timeframe? Is that
Seth is sitting right behind you.
This year, normally we would come to the board prior to August 10th when we submit the roll, because we're not doing the bond sale until after August 10th. Worked with the auditor's office. We'll submit the final roll by amended roll. We'll submit a preliminary roll on August 10th, an amended roll on August 31st. Prior at the September board meeting, I plan to bring the typical annual tax reports to you. At that time, we can detail the changes in the tax rate.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, let's go to another slide. Why the tax rates in existing homes will not go down immediately. The tax formula, we call it the rate method of apportionment, RMA, we're getting into bond jargon here, provides that once conventional bonds are issued, that's what we're doing now, that's what we're asking this board to approve, all property is subject to a tax levy within a tax zone. Right now, with just the builder bonds outstanding, only the developed property can be taxed. So this is a good thing in the long run. What this means is as you spread the tax burden around all the property, as the property develops, the tax rates go down and down. So if a tax zone is half developed, what happens is you tax developed property first in priority, then you tax the rest of it. As that property develops, the tax rates, in my example of half developed, on the developed property should go down by half as the rest of it develops. That's why we're seeing the benefit here. And so some tax zones are more developed than others. Others are less developed. That's why just the amount of benefit percentage-wise varies from tax zone to tax zone. A good example here is that even where you have an owner of builder bonds taking a major haircut, and I'm mentioning Dave Lanza, Pat Laughlin, and Randy Kagura, in tax zones 5 and 3, it's called Draper Ranch. They're only getting 40 cents on the dollar. I mean, they came to the table and they signed that agreement. So, you know, salute them. Their taxpayers are going to get a 70% reduction in their taxes over time. That also is really significant. That's great. It's not going to happen immediately. And I'll show you the graph on that. So again, if someone's not, the homeowner's not getting an immediate benefit, it's not just because the developers didn't take a bigger haircut. It's just, there's a lot of factors in this thing. So I just wanted to use that as an example. All right, let's take a look at some graphs. We're going to go through each of the tax zones. One thing to remember, the tax rates there are averages for the entire tax zone. Remember, each tax zone has multiple tax rates depending on the final maps, which is why, you know, someone coming in from tax zone 1, Woodside and Creekside, Cressley, and saying, well, I don't pay $1,200 a year. No one pays $1,200 a year. That's an average. Some people pay more, some people pay less. So you can see you don't start seeing a benefit until FY 23-24. Then the benefit is big time. It's really significant. And so this is part of our communications challenge, you know, for community engagement. We have to let people know this is how it's working. This is KB. KB has got pretty much the least reduction. It is significant over time. It's 20%, but they, you know, you don't really see much, you know, for a few years. And that's the nature of their tax zone. Lennar, oddly enough, you get, again, not as big a benefit as some of the others, about 20% reduction, but it starts right away. It starts small and then gets bigger in a few years. Again, as the Lennar area develops. Legacy, Riverside Meadows, goes up a little bit for 1 year, and then you look at that curve, it looks good. That's what we want to see. So, but again, we got a communications issue with our taxpayers. Tax zone 2 is, we have half built out. Lewis Latimer was the owner of the builder bonds, the built out part. He came to the table and signed his tender agent agreement. The Lonza team owns the undeveloped part. And as it develops, you'll see another significant reduction, but not immediately. That's just the way it works. Then we come to, this is one of the biggest tax zones. It's tax zone 5, and actually this one is actually built out. And I take that back. This was pretty much fully built out, and you'll see a very significant reduction in the tax rates out there. 6 is also fully built out, not as big a reduction, but a very significant one happening right away. So we'll see some benefits to some homeowners out there. Then here's our biggest collection of undeveloped property. It's in the Lonza team's Draper Ranch area. We go flat for a couple of years, and then we see some very significant reductions in the long run. Here are some numbers. Again, these are averages across all the final map final map areas in each tax zone. You can see that, you know, what the tax rate reductions are the first year of reduction from the maximum. You can see in KB, it's actually a little bit higher. It goes down from there in future years, as we showed on the graph. This is what it looks like from the builder standpoint. Again, I want to say everyone has got skin in the game here. This is for CFD 2006-1, which is Cressley, KB, Lennar, Legacy, and the Lonza team has got property here too. The blue represents what they're owed now, or they owe in terms of unpaid levy impact fees. The column to the right, the kind of umber, brownish orange, is what we're doing for them, or what they're getting, okay? And you can see in every single case, the orange bar is less tall, is lower than the blue bar. But you can also see that the haircut that our various developers are taking varies from one tax zone to the other. Some are taking more than others. There's a number of reasons for that. One of which is how many bonds we can sell. Another of which is how developed the area was. Are they getting any tax rates? Are they getting tax money now? So a lot of negotiation behind that, but we reached agreement, and there's benefit and there's skin in the game all the way around. Comparable chart for CFD 2006-2. This is basically Lennar's got a little bit of bonds there. Actually, that's the one that owns that we thought Lennar owned. It turns out the entity that owns the builder bonds has a new corporate entity, if you will. That's Jeff Lahan. We've got the Lanza team in here, and we've got Lewis Latimer. And again, everyone's got skin in the game. So finally, we've updated our maps. So we want to talk about where things are. And this one may not be terribly legible to the people on the Zoom call. I don't know, but I can put on my reading glasses and read the legend. And this is for 2006-1. This is one for 2006-2. And this is all public information, so this is available to the public. That completes the presentation. So we're ready to answer questions. You got your full team here. And please, let's talk.
Any questions? Gary?
I asked mine during the presentation. I don't have any additional questions.
Any questions from the public? Well, it doesn't seem to be any questions.
I'm going to go back and sit down and let Rochelle figure out how to turn all this off.
Okay. That's
Well, I'm going to defer to our council here to deal with the action we're taking because we have a resolution for the board to adopt. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Who are you deferring to, Mark?
okay. Okay, this is Andrea Clark, Council. I believe there's just one action to be taken, which is to approve the board resolution that's included in your packet that has all the details.
So this short description, adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance of special tax refunding bonds. -1 and -2 and approve related documents and action. That is correct? Okay.
I'll move to do that.
All right, we have a motion. I need a second.
I'll second. Sorry about Will.
Okay. Gary seconds. Roll call.
Director Atwell,
Yes.
Director Bradford,
Yes.
Director Brown absent, Director Legend,
Yes.
Director Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. That being said, we go on to board and staff reports.
Before we move on,
Yes, sir.
let me ask a question to make sure that we confirm something. I know we just adopted the resolution, but from the team that we have presenting, Paul Timig, Seth, and Mark, by adopting the resolution contains all the actions that we need for this meeting. The answer was yes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. All right. Paul, do you have anything to?
I do. I have a couple items here.
Wow.
As I find my notes here, there's the action that we just took on the bond conversion or resolution adoption is really a very significant step. The other day I was talking with Seth about this, and the bonds have been a remnant that have been with the early development of our system that we went to improve. And without the development occurring as we project because of the economic collapse, we were really left with the residual of how to get that done. And I know we started off, Seth and I, probably 5, 6, maybe even longer, trying to work to figure out solutions. And I'm glad that the team all came together, YWA support, county support, and put this together to go forward. And I think the effort that we just took might take a year or two for the folks to finally see the results come directly to them. But I think it'll mean a lot to Yuba County and the development of the future. And so I think it's something worthy to congratulate ourselves on, the team, as we go forward. For my staff items, we do have today a scoping meeting for CEQA. It's in regards to our 500-year project. It's not going to occur at the TRLIA board meeting today, but we do have at the one stop where the TRLIA offices are a meeting where we're presenting for CEQA the scope and work in the project description for our 500-year project that we're proposing for the RD-784 system. That starts at 5:30. It's also available via Zoom meeting itself. So we'll be doing that. If the board members want to come or members of the public, they can tie in through Zoom or attend in person at that particular meeting. And then there's another presentation that will be occurring on July 23rd, this Friday. This pertains to the regional flood management program. The Central Valley Flood Board is asking for updates from the various regions, and we represent the Feather region. So our team members have put together a presentation update. I know I'll be participating. YWA, Ryan McNally, who's in the audience, will also be presenting during that time, along with Michael Bissett from Sabufka. Michael is the executive director for Sabufka. So we'll be most likely in the afternoon doing this update and informational briefing on the results of our efforts. The one significant thing also happened on our Goldfields project as we're winding down. And I personally would like to thank the board of supervisors, and recognize here for the action that was taken most recently to approve the Noons move, the family that was there, and the Mills family in their residential home. That actually is very positive for us, in that it allows us then now to have the folks move and relocate. And that's important, where they were on the water side of the levee as we went to build, and they needed to relocate, and we couldn't let them be there, and they were running through that issue. So thank you very much. We have the two board of supervisor members here that heard that issue.
Well, Paul, you deserve some credit for the tactile way you handled everything that they were involved in, because they said thank you for your kindness throughout the process. So it's not often you get somebody to say thanks for eminent domain. So you should be commended on that one.
Yeah. Considering that we relocated them.
Yeah.
They'd only lived there since the late 40s.
Yeah.
And not the kids, but the family unit moved on it. And the Goldfields project in itself was we had a lot of residents that had lived there a long time that we had to deal with. So I appreciate them saying thanks. So thanks for passing that on. My last items are, we will be having board meetings on August 3rd and also August 17th. So as we go forward, mark that on your calendars that we will be having them. With that, I'll be glad to take questions.
Any questions for Paul? Any questions from the public? Any questions from our Zoom members? All right. Thank you very much. All right. Andrea, anything? Okay, Gary?
Sure, I just wanted to say thank you to staff at the Yuba Water Agency, at TRLIA, and at Yuba County for your work on both the levy fee reduction, as well as the CFD bond refinancing, or whatever we want to call it. I know it's like a refinancing. It's not exactly a refinancing, but anyway, as well as the consultants that helped with that. Huge effort, and the benefits for our residents are tremendous. And so greatly appreciate all the effort.
I'll echo those sentiments, and people have been thinking for years how it's going to be done and how impossible it is, and in just a very short period of time, we started moving and got it done through the effort of staff. And Mark, I think you can walk across the Feather River, can't you now? Ungluing. Okay, all right. Okay, any comments from the from the rest of the board? Here? Committee? Sorry.
No. I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Ledbetter?
No
Nobody?
comments.
Any comments from the public? All right, that being said, this meeting is adjourned. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Be well.